If you hired a subcontractor last year and paid them $600 or more, you were required to issue them a Form 1099 NEC. The penalty for failing to file a required 1099 is $290 per form if discovered and corrected within the year, and $500 per form if the IRS determines you intentionally disregarded the filing requirement. If you paid 5 subcontractors $1,000 each and issued no 199s, your potential penalty exposure is $1,450 to $2,900 on top of any other compliance issues. This is a filing requirement that most solo freelancers who grow into using subcontractors do not know applies to them. Form 1099 NEC, non-employee compensation, was revived by the IRS for tax year 2020 after being discontinued in 1982. Prior to 2020, contractor payments were reported on Form 1099 MISC in Box 7. Since 2020, non-employee compensation of $600 or more paid to any individual, partnership, or estate in the course of your trade or business must be reported on Form 1099 NEC. The 600 threshold is cumulative for the calendar year. It is not per payment. Multiple small payments to the same contractor that total 600 or more in the year require a 1099. Who requires a 1099 NEC? Any individual contractor, a graphic designer, copywriter, web developer, photographer, virtual assistant, paid 600 or more in your capacity as a business. Sole proprietors who provide services, partnerships and LLCs taxed as partnerships or disregarded entities. Attorneys and law firms, regardless of their corporate structure, legal services are always reported on 1099 forms. Who does not require a 1099 NEC? Corporations, including S Corp and C Corp, are generally exempt from the 1099 NEC requirement. Payments made via credit card or third-party payment networks, PayPal, Stripe, Venmo for business, are reported by the payment processor on Form 1099-K, not by you. The information you need from each contractor before you pay them, their legal name, address, taxpayer identification number, either a social security number for individuals or an EIN for business entities, and their business status. Collect this information via IRS Form W-9, Request for Taxpayer Identification, Number and Certification. The W-9 should be collected before or at the time of first payment, not in January when you are trying to prepare 1099s. If a contractor refuses to provide their TIN, you are required to withhold 24% of their payments under backup withholding rules and remit it to the IRS. Filing deadlines. Form 1099 NEC is due to the recipient, the contractor, by January 31st of the year following payment. It is simultaneously due to the IRS by January 31st whether you file paper or electronically. This is an unusual deadline. Most information returns allow more time for IRS filing than recipient copies, but 199 NEC has the same January 31st deadline for both. If January 31st falls on a weekend, the deadline moves to the next business day. State deadlines vary, and some states require separate state-level 199 filings in addition to the federal requirement. Filing options. If you are filing 10 or more information returns of any type in 2024, you are required to file electronically with the IRS. Below 10, paper filing is permitted using Copy A of the official IRS form with Form 1096 as the transmittal cover. The IRS will not accept substitute copies of File 99 forms on plain paper. They must be the official red and black scannable copies. Electronic filing is done through the IRS FIRE system, filing information returns electronically. which requires registration or through third-party services such as Tax 199, Track 199, or your accounting software's 199 filing feature. The penalty structure is tiered by how late the filing is. File within 30 days of the due date, 60 per form. File by August 1st of the filing year, 120 per form. File after August the 1st or not at all, 290 per form. If the IRS determines the failure was due to intentional disregard, not mere oversight, the penalty is 580 per form with no maximum cap. Small businesses that file fewer than 250 information returns per year are subject to a maximum penalty of $261,500 per year for ordinary failures. Still a significant exposure if you have many contractors and did not file. Common errors in 1099 NEC filing. Incorrect TIN, the Social Security number or EIN, does not match IRS records. This triggers a TIN mismatch notice and potentially backup withholding requirements on future payments to that contractor. Wrong amount, failing to include all payments within the calendar year or including payments made in the prior or following year. Filing for exempt recipients, issuing a 1099 to an S-Corp when it is not required. And misclassifying payments, reporting non-service payments such as rent or royalties on Form 1099, NEC, rather than the correct 199 MISC box. Each error has a specific correction process and its own penalty exposure. A practical system that prevents most 199 problems. Before paying any contractor more than a nominal amount, collect Form W-9. Store all W-9s in a dedicated digital folder with the contractor's name. Throughout the year, track contractor payments in your accounting software with each payment tagged to the contractor's record. In January, generate your 1099 list from the software, cross-reference against W-9s on file, and use a third-party service to file electronically. Total time investment, under 2 hours annually if you built the system correctly during the year. The alternative, scrambling in January without W-9s and correct TINs, routinely results in late filing penalties. The 1099 NEC obligation applies from the moment you engage a contractor and pay them $600 in a calendar year. Collect the W-9 up front, track payments throughout the year, and file by January 31st. The process is not complicated. The penalties for ignoring it are. If you want to understand the legal distinction between a contractor and an employee, and why misclassifying workers creates liability far beyond a missing 1099, our video on the independent contractor versus employee test, Why Getting It Wrong, costs $50,000 covers the exact rules.